That authorization key, if you're going to register with the voucher code I send you, you'll get this authorization key. You need to hang on to that or go access it again when you're going to submit, because you need it for that point. So if you've kind of got a folder for all your TPA stuff, put your authorization key in there too. Save it in 2 or 3 places, you know. So, okay, let's see. Yep, after you send it to Pearson, you're going to get a message saying their files have been transferred and are awaiting verification. That's that step 2 I was talking about. So you'll send it off, and then you have to make sure to do that verification step, because it will not officially go to them until that's there. This is that submission requirements document that has like what kinds of errors can you get. Let me show you kind of that sort of thing. And they actually are the ones who put the highlighting in. That kind of tells you they're seeing these a lot. A portfolio is not scoreable if the learning segment document is less than 3 lessons in length, or if the teaching block is not enough time. A minimum of 2 lesson plans are acceptable. So this is what they're saying.
One question I have, okay, so in my math, I teach it for an hour, but then later on, they go to IXL and do a math game.
Okay.
Now, that happens on the same day. Can I just, and that's 15 minutes, can I just add those 15 minutes at the bottom of my lesson?
Probably. I would say, you know, that's that extra piece that you're doing. Are the IXL lessons tied to what
Yes.
you're doing?
Yeah.
Because some teachers do that and some don't, you know.
So, we tell the kids which, like to go, right now they're going to K3 or 4, I forget what it is. But, you know, and that's what they...
Yeah, so then I'd make sure to
and
put
even
that
that, there's different levels.
Different levels, yeah. So then I'd make sure to put that in there, that they're going to have additional practice. It is teacher assigned which game they go to, and it does tie back to this lesson. It's not just kind of review in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I would do that.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. So some of the other kinds of things that they get, if the materials related to the planning rubrics are unscorable, you'll get a condition code D through H, and the entire thing is unscorable. So they kind of have a couple of these that if they can't do a certain part, they just don't score anything. That's not good, because you're going to be coming back and finishing that up again. A code B is there was a video issue. It was unplayable. The one place I've seen this happen, if you're using Movie Maker, this is a big one. If you're using Movie Maker, you have to make sure that you turn it into, it can't be a project file. It says that's a, like PJT or something like that, a project file at the end. It's not finished. You'll see it on your computer, but when you send it to me, I can't play it. Okay, and that's what happens when you upload it here. And in the video editing directions, I tell you specifically, here's what you need to do to turn it into the finished version. But it's up under, you have to save it in a certain format. And so that last step, again, is the one that will get you every time. You got to make sure you do that. And really, it's a good way to check. Upload it to Pearson or to LiveText, and then go on a different computer and watch it from LiveText. And you can see it from there. Pearson will see it from there. But don't try and watch it on your same computer, because it might be going back to your original file instead of this one to access it. So it's good to just double check before you hit the submit button. Video issues, the audio is unintelligible. You know, that's going to happen a lot, because you don't always have really great mic systems or something like that they can hear. It's not a bad idea if you listen to it and you're like, it's really hard to hear what the student asked me. Maybe you've got that academic language piece and it's great, but it's really hard for the person to hear it. It is perfectly fine for you to put in the commentary kind of a scripted version of, at this point on the video, here's what the student asked me and here's what I responded. Because they know it's hard to hear in classrooms. They're noisy places. So it's perfectly fine for you to do a little bit of that scripting about, here's what you can't hear real well. I have seen this one come through. It was from a high school person. He got a code D in several areas of response being too short. Now, they don't tell you you have to have more than 2 sentences, but you really should have more than 2 sentences for your response. You can't really give a good solid response in just 2 or 3 sentences. There are limits you can't go over, but if your response is too short, you're going to get code D'd. So, which they may not just feel like there's just not enough for them to score. You didn't give them enough of an answer. E, you uploaded the wrong artifact in the wrong spot. It's a blank file. That one happens. People download these from live text, fill them in. They've got the blank one and the filled in one, and they uploaded the wrong one. So please check which file. You know, look at them first. Make sure you got what you want in there. Unreadable. They've had occasional times where the handwriting for the student work samples was just too hard to read.
But what if that's like
I was going to say, but yeah. Seriously? Yeah. Again, if it's really hard to read, you might want to put a little bit in your commentary about here's what it is. I personally, I'm like, if you've been teaching, you should be able to read darn near anything. You know, I can read upside down. I can read my own writing, which is the worst probably. So, yeah. I haven't seen that one come through actually. So apparently it's possible. Materials are unrelated. Every once in a while they get somebody who uploads something that they thought was a lesson plan and it's really, you know, something else. Not good. Make sure you're uploading what you really think it's supposed to be. Not in English, and that's only happened, and it is okay, Paul, for the world language. Yes, you can upload things that are not in English because he's teaching Spanish. If he's uploading everything in English, I'm going to have a concern. But other than that, you don't need translations if you're in, you know, one of those things. But other than that, if there's something that's not in English, and that does happen. Somebody might be in a bilingual school where part of the instruction is in Spanish and part is in English or something. You should give a translation then, a pretty close one. But otherwise, if you're in Spanish, the person scoring will be a Spanish speaker, and so you're fine. Okay? There is a customer support number for the TPA that's on your handbook and in your stuff. Feel free to call them. They're actually pretty helpful. They're usually pretty good, and they will work with you and help you get things resolved. I will do what I can on my end, but a lot of times if it's a glitch on their end, it's probably not something I can deal with if it's a computer thing from them. But if it's just a question of I'm not sure, you know, what to do, where, whatever, I'm happy to answer those. Be nice, don't send me 300. But I've got 50 student teachers this semester, so keep that in mind. But okay, so I think that's the end of that one. Let's see. And the other one I hadn't shown is this one. Yeah, this just basically shows kind of how it was designed and what it was for. It's kind of a big overall document from the TPA folks. So here's your artifacts. Here's the rubrics that they align to. Kind of all the same stuff we've been through. So it's supposed to provide subject-specific evidence of your effective teaching for 3 to 5 lessons for 1 class of students. And then it goes through. And what happens with the scores, what the criteria are for scores. Here's your integrated platform providers, Chalk and Wire, Folio, Live Text, Passport, TaskStream, TK20. Folio has like 3 versions. And they're available for all these areas. I did go check, there are 22 states now using TPA, requiring it. So starting this year, more and more states are using it for licensure, so it is entirely possible, like I said, that it, you know, Brandon decides he wants to go teach in, actually just got it today in Ohio. Person who had done elementary and is now moved to Ohio, got a job there, and they are using her, they're actually taking her MTLE course too, so she doesn't even have to take it. I have to camp her to hear that, because she was like, man, am I going to take all these tests again? But no, they're going to take her, because it is through Pearson, they're going to take her MTLE scores and her TPA, and she can just have her license. So, and that person did something I'm going to tell all of you, never do. She got her degree and did not get her license right away. It is usually very hard to go to another state and get a license if you got your training here and didn't get your Minnesota license first. Additionally, I had 2 people this fall, in August, gone through Southwest 5 to 8 years ago, moved to Iowa, got married, had kids, the whole thing, got a teaching job there back in Minnesota, just over the border. Have the job, they're ready to start, they need a Minnesota license, and guess what? They can't have one yet. The requirements changed in fall of 10. They now need the early lit class and possibly the kindergarten reading methods class, and their tests are no longer valid because they didn't get their license right away. Get your license immediately. We worked with DOT and we got it figured out. They got a temporary license for a year, but they have to have a new job teaching and moved and take classes and be all done with this in a year. Yeah, don't do that to yourself. Get your license even if you don't think you'll use it, even if you're gonna move. Get it here because, you'll hear me harp on this tomorrow too, but you're held to the licensure requirements at the time you're licensed. So say you wait 5 years and then go for your Minnesota license, if they've added anything new, imagine the Board of Teaching changing anything, you have to meet the requirements at that time. On the other hand, I had another one that's come through recently, got licensed, hasn't taught for 12 years, let her license lapse like, 7, 8 years ago. All she has to do is take a few credits, classes, anything she wants to, and she's good. Because she had the Minnesota license, doesn't have to take any tests, doesn't have to do anything. Get the license, even if you don't think you're gonna use it, get it. It's good for 5 years, it gives you time to think about it. But don't put yourself in that place. These two gals this fall, they and their principals were not happy people when I had to call them back and say, I'm really sorry, but I can't give you a license. I can't even, move you that far forward. That was not pretty. But, okay, so I think pretty much that is everything here. Any other questions?
I'll just
TPA
point
related.
something out quick. You want to go back to that first PowerPoint that you were in? At the very end, when it had the video requirements, it says 500 gigabytes on there. I'm guessing that should be megabytes.
Yes, it should be megabytes.
500
It would be
gigabytes.
pretty big.
24 hours of
Yeah.
1080p video.
You'd be uploading that this
So, I don't know if it says that in all the
That
materials.
means gibberish.
No, that would be
I know.
Gigabytes.
I wouldn't have even known the difference.
A trinomial.
That would be.
Okay.
Megabyte is a mono.
I think it was like one of the last slides. I'm pretty sure it said.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah, probably where we talked about.
I just talked about
It's like, where was it?
I thought it said megabyte, but
Oh, well, I wanted to go through this too, I didn't get through that last week.
There.
Yeah,
There.
gigabytes.
It'll be an M, not a G.
Guessing that's supposed to be megs.
Typo, yeah.
I wrote it down megabytes.
I know.
I said
I didn't write it
megabytes, I didn't save it in that.
I didn't.
Okay, I do want to run through, because I did skip the last slide here, so hang on one second. Yes, just go away. Okay, we did that here, this one.
Megabytes are smaller.
Your student teaching assignment is loaded, so when you log in, you'll see it. Please plan to submit by December 1st. I mentioned that part, and that's so that according to their scoring window, we're gonna get back. We may need you to submit twice. Like I said, I'm not positive on that yet, but it'll be in the emails I send you. The scores come back then in about 3 to 4 weeks. You will get, just like you got your MTLE scores from Pearson, you'll get a TPA score report just like that. I would save that because, like I said, if you're going somewhere else, they may want that. It could be that you might need it even in another year for a teaching position because Minnesota is deciding shortly what they're going to require. Is this going to be a licensure component? There's been some talk about possibly replacing the pedagogy test at some point with your, they don't have it yet, so take your pedagogy test. But,
That'd be awesome.
there are talk of using that. So hang on to your score reports. That is going to be important. You're going to want that. Right now, the cut score recommended nationally is 42. The trend typically has been for Minnesota to think they always have to be one better. We're hoping not, but what they're saying right now is they want you to have a 13 out of 15 on task 1, 13 out of 15 on task 2, and a 12 out of 15 on task 3. That's the numbers we've heard from our colleges of teacher ed group. That would be a 38, which is substantially lower than the national of 42. I wouldn't count on that one being, you know. If it is, I can tell you that from last year, the majority of our students hit the 38. Majority of our students, I don't know if even half hit 42. And part of that, I think, too, is because it keeps changing and people hadn't seen it. We're getting better every semester. But, like I said, it's getting to where it now is going to have some more significant impact. So I want you to be aware of that, that is a possibility. Yes.
When can we send, so say we would send this in October 31st, would that get corrected within that 3 to 4 weeks?
It should actually get corrected sooner, yeah. What I will say has happened from the person who receives the score reports, the people who wait till the very end, like right around December 1st, will think about when does every school in the country end, is around Christmas. It's sometimes been March by the time we got those score reports back, so that's.
Does that affect your degree?
It won't, as long as we know you've submitted it, and I can see on my end, you know, we know Pearson's got it, then it won't slow things down. But, I mean, you want to get this back, nice to get it in the same decade that you sent it in, you know. So, but on the flip side, I did have people who had it in like the end of October, beginning of November, and they had them back within 2-3 weeks because there weren't so many getting submitted all at the same time, so.
I'm hoping this doesn't happen, but what if I get a score that's less than, and I don't pass it?
And you know what, we don't know yet. That's our question too. It's like if they set this cut level, and they say here's where you have to be, and you're in the middle of it, they're just still making up their mind, what happens? We don't know for sure. Again, rumors I've been hearing from our MACT group, we might have you rewrite the commentary on a part and clarify pieces, so maybe resubmit a written part. You can't go back to your classroom and re-videotape, that's not gonna happen. We don't know yet exactly what they're, and then who would you resubmit it? Do you submit it to us? Do we have to score it? Does it go to Pearson? And do you have to pay again? I mean, that, you know, there's a lot of questions there that we don't know the answers on yet. So you're right. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. Shoot for those 4s.
That's where your commentary is really important.
Yeah.
Look at your rubric, look at what the question is asking you. Make sure you're using the terms from your rubric. Make sure you're using what the question is asking you, and go back and say, did I answer this question fully? And if you don't think that you did, go back and add a little bit to clarify.
I often tell people, don't be afraid to use their language in your answer.
Yes.
You know, where did you use your academic? I use my academic language in the video clip at 3:15 when the student says, or I ask this. If I'm a scorer, I'm going to know where you meant for me to look, right? Because you're telling me right here is where I did this. So look at the rubrics and go ahead and use the language right out of the rubrics. That makes it so much easier. I've done a lot of this scoring for other schools across wherever, and it's so much easier when the student just says, here's where I did the thing you're looking for. Then I know where to look. I know where they want me to look, right? You want me to look where you want me to look. So make it easy for me to find it as a scorer.
You could actually write it and then let it sit for a day or two.
Yeah.
So remove yourself from it. Then grab that rubric and sit down like you're the scorer and go, do I have all the words here?
Did I really say, are they going to know where to look? Yep.
No, don't take the chance of doing it.
Exactly. So much easier. So last things I will tell you then tonight. There's this whole domino effect that happens at the very end. You can't get a grade posted for student teaching till all these things are done. Your TPA has to be in, your portfolio review has to be successfully done, and we have to have your evaluations back from your mentor, teacher, and supervisor. Typically, you will have a sit-down, all 3 of you meeting at the end of the semester, and you'll all go through it together. But every once in a while, logistics make that hard, especially at the end of the year, or there's a snowstorm or whatever. So sometimes we get them separately from the mentor, teacher, and university supervisor, but we can't give you a grade till we've got it all. So if you see your grades not posted, and you know the first 2 are done, that might be a piece of it. You want to check up with them. It's like, hey, did you get that sent in?
Do the evals from your mentor, teacher, and university soup have to be after the last day, like on the last day of
It
your
isn't
time,
always.
or
Sometimes it's
their
in that
last
last
visit?
week. Yeah, sometimes it's in that last. You know, you're getting out at the end. You're tapering out anyway. You're not really doing a whole lot different. So
Okay.
Our university supervisor knows when to.
yes, yeah. Usually the supervisor's not
Because
the
she,
problem.
I thought it was that she had me scheduled a lot earlier.
Okay.
Because she thought, oh, you're still going until the 19th.
Well, and Emily's comment is good because keep in mind we've got 2 different tracks of times going out there because of this whole fly school thing we have going on locally. Half of our student teaching districts started August 18th. The other half didn't start till after Labor Day. So if she's got anybody or has been on this fly thing, she's like, oh, you're only this far? Well, yeah, I didn't start until later. So that's where it gets confusing. And some of them have student teachers they're seeing under both plans, so it's confusing. So these things have to be done for your grade for student teaching to be posted. Once your grade for student teaching is posted, that's the last thing your degree is waiting for, then your degree can be posted, okay? Once your degree is posted, then we can do a license for you, okay? So those things have to happen. Until the first one's happened, the second can't happen, the third can't happen. So it is very important that you get all this stuff done in time. The portfolio review,